Savannah, Georgia is at the top when it comes to Southern hospitality.
Propane and electricity is not really the best combination.
I chase adventure. I want to be the fun mom.
You know, it's hard to anticipate all the costs and hidden costs that are involved with trips.
RV Life.
RV Life.
RV Life.
RV Life.
RV Life.
RV Life Podcast.
And welcome back to the RV Life Podcast. I'm Jim.
And I'm Renee. Thanks for joining us again. We've got a really fun and useful episode lined up with a little travel inspiration and some real-world ways to save money on the road. Plus, a deeper conversation about mindset and identity and an important safety topic every RVer should know about.
That's right. Coming up in our travel segment, John takes us to Savannah, Georgia, where St. Patrick's Day is not just a one-day thing. This is more than just some parade. It's a big deal and a great destination for RVers.
Then in lifestyle, we're talking with Jared Davis from RV Complete Club about one of the biggest realities of RV life, the costs. Not just fuel and campgrounds, but service and all those little surprises you don't read about in the pretty brochures. This is not just another savings club with some confusing point system, but it's a way to reduce the stress that comes with all of the expenses and planning.
After that, Rose and Glenn bring us another RV entrepreneur profile with Robin and Victor Robledo. And this is it's a powerful conversation. They talk about the identity shift that can happen when you leave that default life to go nomadic and what it takes to rebuild from the inside out.
And to wrap up this episode, Bob has an important industry news segment with Martin Neeson, founder of Gas Stop, about propane safety and why shutting off gas at the source can make a huge difference.
All right, let's get into it with a timely travel segment. If you think the biggest St. Patrick's Day celebrations are all up north, this may surprise you.
That's right. John is talking with Supriya Christopher from Visit Savannah about why Savannah's St. Patrick's season is one of the largest celebrations in the country. We discover how long the parade really lasts and what RVers should know about visiting, parking, and getting around once you're there.
All right, John, take us there.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the RV Life Podcast. My name is John DiPietro. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And today, I am going to ask you a question. I am going to say, where do you think one of the biggest St. Patrick's Day celebrations in the United States is? And my guess is that 9 out of 10 of you are not going to get the right answer. Now, many of you will say New York, many of you will say Boston, many of you will say Chicago, but not many that I know of, unless they live down there, are going to say Savannah, Georgia. And today we are talking with a representative of Savannah, Georgia, Supriya Christopher, who's going to tell us all about the fantastic St. Patrick's Day. I shouldn't really say St. Patrick's Day. It's more like a week or weekend. It's extended day, right, Supriya?
Yeah, you got it, John. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. And I can tell you, you are exactly correct. Savannah, Georgia boasts one of the largest St. Patrick's Day parades in the nation every year. And we've been doing it for over 200 years. And it's actually not even just a weekend. It's the entire month of March. We really go all out and want to celebrate this important and historic time of year. A lot of folks don't know that Savannah has a centuries-old Irish legacy. We have strong Irish roots starting in County Wexford and dating back to the 18th century when immigrants from Ireland started coming over to Savannah, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And with them, of course, they brought their culture and their civic pride and their costumes and, of course, their
work ethic. Yep, their work ethic. Well, you know, the funny thing is, I don't think anybody would ever guess that Savannah would be a stopping point for immigrants, because when immigrants would come from Europe in that, in the early 1900s or so, or 1850s, I mean, they would go to New York City and, they would disperse from there, and some would stay in that area, and, some would go to Canada. And then the Canadians would come back to New England and that type of thing. But it's very rare to see Georgia as part of something to do with European heritage. Tell us a little bit. Now, we're talking from an RV perspective, and I know whenever I have RV'd in Savannah, we've always stayed at a great park that's owned by our friends at Spacious Skies called Savannah Oaks, just outside the city. But the thing that I was impressed with from an RVer's perspective is that you have ample RV parking down by your visitor center, only a short walk from the quote unquote tourist area, but you can eliminate that walk and get on one of those white trolleys or the red and green trolleys and have that little sticker on your lapel and go all around the city. The other thing I've noticed is that everybody down there is so polite. And, you're looking at your phone. Nobody has maps anymore. You're looking at your phone and people say, "Hey, can I help y'all? You need directions." But talk a little bit about Southern hospitality and why RVers from around the country would enjoy coming there and the good food that's there too.
Oh, I'll be happy to talk about all those things. And you hit a lot of the highlights already, but you are exactly right. We have a very welcoming and community, and Savannah, Georgia is at the top when it comes to Southern hospitality. We love to welcome our visitors from all over the country and all over the world in whatever way they make it here. We have a handful of very good RV parks in the area. You mentioned one. There's another one called Red Gate Farms that a lot of RVers may be familiar with if they've been here, and the visitor center parking lot that you mentioned. All of these areas are not far from our historic district of Savannah. And once you're in the historic district, the best thing is that's actually all walkable. You can get to all the restaurants, museums, hot spots, if you will, the River Street, which many people love to come and spend a day on. And the Old Town Trolley Tours are one of our greatest partners here in Savannah. You hop on those trolleys, it's hop on, hop off all day long, and you can get to see the sights of Savannah that way as well. We have so many interesting and wonderful places for people, just whether they're coming on a day trip or a weekend trip to enjoy. And beyond the restaurants and so forth, just strolling along any of our 23 original historic squares.
Where? Here's what I have to tell you. The first time we went there, we had driven like overnight from New England and took one of the trolley tours, and I didn't get a good night's sleep. And I kept nodding off in the trolley. And every time I turned around, I thought we were the same place, but we were in a different square. And all the squares are very similar, but they have a historic meaning, and every one of them is a little bit different, right?
Absolutely. I love to, as the director of public relations for Visit Savannah, I talk to media professionals every day. And one of the things I always like to say is that there is a new story to discover in every square in Savannah. And that's the truth. I mean, it's very rare in the United States of America to, first of all, find a city as original as we still are. Most places, as most people know, have been developed upon, and time and changes in industrialization and technology has changed the way things look. But Savannah is so unique because you are walking amongst the original squares that have been there for 300 years.
And on cobblestones on certain streets.
Absolutely.
So don't wear high heels.
No, don't. You're better off with your running shoes or your sneakers. That's what we do recommend, because we do have original cobblestones, and that's the beauty of our area. But what's also so interesting is that along with that historic side of Savannah, you also see the modernity of hotels that are eclectic and new and wonderful to visit, as well as restaurants and shops and interesting museums. So it's this very interesting juxtaposition, I guess you can say, of the old and the new side by side. And that's what I think is the charm and the beauty of Savannah that you just won't find anywhere else.
Let's go back to what our original topic was. And I am famous for jumping off topic and going a million different places. Talk about the parade, because there's nothing like a St. Patrick's Day parade. And when you go to one in the Northeast, you have a tendency to be basically frozen solid, depending upon what the weather is for that particular day. My guess is the weather is a little bit nicer for watching a parade. Is it like an hour-long parade, an hour and a half, 2-hour parade? How big is this parade?
Oh, no, it's actually can be anywhere from about 4 to 6 hours long of this parade. And I'll tell you what, people come and line up on the streets, line their chairs up on the streets in middle of the night before of the 16th. The parade always takes place on March 17th, regardless of what day of the week it is.
No matter what day of the week.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay.
We're as authentic as it gets when it comes to our St. Patrick's Day parade. And as I said, there's many festivities and parties and so forth that lead up to that date. But the parade's always on the 17th, and the kids are off of school. It's treated like a national holiday here. And what we really love about it is it's not just there to go out and get beers and drunk and all that type of thing. I mean, sure, that's also the fun of it. And all the bars are wide open and the restaurants are wide open for everybody to enjoy. But you really do see the blending of the heritage and the energy and the costuming of the Irish and of all of our community groups that embrace the celebration of St. Patrick's Day and of our Irish community. And that's what I think makes it so beautiful. And then put it with that massive celebration and that stunning backdrop that we just talked about, the Spanish moss dripping off the live oak trees and the walkable squares on the riverfront. It's just unforgettable.
And I think it's important to say that the Irish still live there. It's not like, they came 200 years ago and left and somebody else has, a production company has put this show on. I mean,
no, it's still led by the Hibernian Society of Savannah. We still have one of the largest populations of Irish. And we're very happy that they have become a part of our community, and they're not just become a part, they are some of the founders of this community. So we are very happy to celebrate our Irish heritage here. And for those of us who aren't Irish, I'm not Irish, but I enjoy St. Patrick's Day more than maybe just the regular person that has been here for a while. It's just a great experience. And so if you're in the area, it's something that we highly recommend you try to do someday in your life. It's kind of one of those bucket list things.
How about a website that people can look at to see what other activities might be around there, either geographically but chronologically at the same time of St. Patrick's Day?
Visit Savannah.com. www.visitsavannah.com. And when you go there, it's very regularly updated. We will have all of the information you need on the website. As it gets closer to the date as well, it'll be even more updated, so you'll really get all of the details. And I believe that the city of Savannah, savannah.gov, also has information pertaining to the logistics involved for parking and those types of things that you may be interested in when you're here. But visit savannah.com is the best place to start.
We have been talking with Supriya Christopher from the Visit Savannah, right? Convention, what'd you say, CVB, Convention Visitors Bureau?
Yeah, well, we're called a DMO, the Destination Marketing Organization for Savannah and Chatham County.
There we go. Thank you so much for being with us. And folks, if you are looking for a new and exciting thing to do for St. Patrick's Day, start planning now, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So for the RV Life podcast, this is John DiPietro saying, we'll see you again real soon.
Okay, first of all, Savannah is one of those places that just feels like it was made for wandering. I loved walking around the cemetery, lunch at Clary's.
Yeah, that was years ago. Maybe it's time we head back. I love how they talked about the practical side for RVers, where you can park, how walkable the town is, and that trolley that we obviously missed.
All right, coming up next, we're switching gears to something every RVer feels sooner or later, the cost of RV travel and the stress that comes with it.
We sat down with Jared Davis to get the scoop on RV Complete Club. We talk about how this isn't just an average travel membership. RV Complete Club is built around the things RVers spend money on the most: fuel, campgrounds, and service. Plus, we discuss how the app helps you find those benefits while you're traveling.
All right, let Jared tell them, Jim. Let's go.
Jared, nice to meet you. Thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to sharing everything going on at RV Complete Club.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Super excited to be here and appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, it's our pleasure as well. And for our listeners who might not know about RV Complete Club, tell us a bit about what it is, what it entails, what kind of services. And personally, I'm interested in who started it and why.
Yeah, so, Blue Compass RV, who I worked with before this, you put such a massive focus on the investment towards the customer experience and always trying to raise the bar. And at one point, we did sit down and we thought about how we can extend that investment beyond just the RV buying experience, because of course, as a dealership group, you want to make sure that buying experience is amazing. But we're proud to sell a lot of RVs each year, but there's roughly 11 million RVers out there who aren't looking to buy every single day, of course. So,
Right.
They wanted to be able to use that, RV and enjoy the lifestyle, those RVers at home. And so we decided it'd be a great initiative to create something to promote the lifestyle and be able to offer a great experience for all those RVers out there. So, there's no better music to our ears than hearing about all the experiences that RVers are able to make with their friends and their families. So we ultimately decided to create a way to stretch those opportunities and make it much easier for them and also lighter on their pocketbook.
Yeah, the thing about RVing is it's not just a vehicle you're buying. You're getting into a lifestyle when you get an RV. And so there's so much that goes into that for the entire time you own that rig, like fuel and campgrounds and also getting your RV serviced. So these are the things that we all deal with, for good or not, when we have an RV. And I'm wondering, why did you guys decide to focus on those areas when you put the club together?
Yeah, great question. We actually decided we wanted to hear from our customers and say, where do they run into the most call it friction, whether it's for good or for bad, and where do they see that they're spending most of the money? RVers spend a lot, like you mentioned, on their RV, and it's like a second home for most people, and this is how they take their vacations. And so it is a significant investment, and we wanted to make sure we could utilize some of our partnerships to help them stretch that experience further. And so you kind of mentioned we have our fuel discount program. So we work with Love. This is a great partner of ours. They have over 600 locations nationwide. And we wanted to make sure that when they're out traveling from place to place, they can save 13 cents off gas and 20 cents off auto fuel. They also have propane discounts, overnight stays, and dump stations as well. And then once they finally get to that destination, we wanted to build the campground network. So we have over 600 locations where we focus not on quantity of locations, but quality. So we actually used RV Life, obviously another amazing partnership of ours. And we said, hey, can you send us your highest rated campgrounds across the nation? And we just started started building relationships. So, we can send our customers to the best of the best locations to have amazing experiences, while they can also save up to 20% off the nightly rate at all those locations.
Wow.
And then anytime in between there, if something bad happens or something falls apart, or they even just need to stop in to grab some parts, they have the opportunity to save up to $200 off every single time they stop at the Blue Compass dealerships. Whoa. So it's at a 10% off rate.
So maybe it's a good time to pause and just kind of list off, you say RV Complete Club. What makes it complete? You listed a few things there. There's discounts on staying places, service. Is there roadside assistance? What else does RV Complete Club include?
Yeah, great question. So if you buy an RV from Blue Compass RV, you actually get the RV Complete VIP package, which does include roadside assistance. This is something you can only get from Blue Compass RV. So if you buy from them any new or used unit, you get that. We work with CoachNet directly. They have an amazing reputation for, taking care of customers in the situations where they need it the most. You can't actually buy that roadside assistance outright, let's say, but you can always go to CoachNet and they'll make sure you're taken care of. The club does not include that roadside assistance. The club is actually just the campground benefits, the service and parts discounts, and then the fuel. And then there's a couple of other small discounts you can also get with being a part of the club, which is also listed on the sites and stuff like that. So to bring it full circle, the VIP membership, which is what you get when you buy, also has the 1 year of the RV Complete Club included in it as well. But for anybody out there who just wants to purchase it, it's just $39 a year.
That's great. You mentioned that's funny because that's quite a lot of resources there, whether you're on vacation, like you mentioned, or full-time RVers. But for the members out there who are using this on a daily basis, is there any particular benefit you think that kind of makes the biggest difference in their travels?
Ultimately, I'd have to say the gas benefit. We chose Love because They're high quality fueling stations, and they offer everything from gas, auto diesel, propane, dump station. They have overnight stays as well.
Mhm.
I'll just say I was at the Tampa Super Show a couple weeks ago. I can't tell you how many people walked up and they were like, "We love Loves. Tell us more." Telling us that they have a place to let their dogs run around and they're clean and they have big lots, which is actually a very big topic when you have a big RV that you're pulling around. So I do think that's the most beneficial. You can avoid, running into service issues. You can dry camp or boondock or even park at a beach, but no matter where you go, you're going to need fuel to get there.
Mhm.
And so I think that's a incredible benefit there. And it's 600 locations nationwide where you can take advantage of that. In terms of just money saved, though, I do, of course, love the parts and service discount. For every membership that's just $39 per year, you have the ability to save $200 every time you stop in. If you run into an unfortunate situation where you have a big service bill, it's going to pay off pretty significantly. I do a lot of running the numbers. It's kind of my job. And we ultimately determined, you could save well over just that $39 annual fee by just taking one trip. You mentioned full-time RVers. Yeah, obviously it'll rack up pretty quick. But even a one-time user, can take advantage of it and make it, well worth the trip. And then also to add on to this, that Love's discount can be for your truck, your car, your motorcycle, boats.
Sure.
Oh, wow.
These
Yeah,
snowmobiles,
that's
name it. And
true.
so, maybe you're not RVing, but you can still stop into that Love's and take advantage of that. I actually make sure my parents do that as well.
It sounds as though the membership could pay for itself on one trip. If you save on the campground and fueling up while you get there and maybe some service along the way, I mean, you could save more than the cost of the membership, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't quote me because this is off the top of my head, but we kind of did a mock trip and I actually used RV Life's Trip Wizard, and it was right before the Hershey RV show. And so I'm sitting in Fort Lauderdale in my office, and I think I picked out a Newmar and I said, how much can I save just going up to Hershey on my way there to go set up and talk to people about the club? And it was, I think, $105 each way.
Wow.
Obviously, it's a pretty substantial drive, but and that's without any service or parts needed. So yeah, it can definitely pay for itself. If you're a nationwide traveler, it's a significant opportunity.
Yeah, I love how you mentioned that, it's good for your other vehicles too. And like right now we're parked seasonally for winter and we use our truck to get around. And yeah, I mean, first of all, anytime we have the trailer with us, Love's is always a number one choice because it's so easy. Like you said, they have everything. But right now, we've just got the truck and we will still use that discount when we're filling up the truck, especially out here in Southern California where fuel prices are astronomical. So I love any chance I can get for a discount. Now, you mentioned you're a numbers guy and you've been crunching the numbers for this program. Now, what do you see as the biggest area where people tend to underestimate what RVing costs? You've done a lot of research into this.
Yeah. It's hard to anticipate all the costs and hidden costs that are involved with trips. I'm definitely sure, most people are better at planning and building itineraries than I am, but I always seem to finish a trip and just kind of choose to ignore the credit card statement that's coming the next month, knowing I definitely spent more money than I, had planned or hoped for. So on our app, you can see a map of the entire US and where exactly these customers can save on their trips. So when planning, they can ensure that they will hit all the spots in which they can save money so that,
Nice.
they know when they need to stop at a campground or fill up at a Love's, they can expect to have the opportunity to save money on that. Unfortunately, the gas mileage on these RVs aren't great. As you guys can probably relate, when pulling a travel trailer, your truck's not going to get great gas mileage either.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on, your fuel capacity, you can end up filling up many, many times on one trip and you didn't necessarily account for that.
Right.
Campgrounds have also gotten more expensive. We listened to a lot of RVers for feedback and, I mentioned that's how we built this club. But these campgrounds can get up to $100 per night. So we wanted to make sure we were alleviating that cost as well. And then the part, of course, that no one wants to talk about, the sort of subject, is the unexpected service and parts that are needed to maintain your RV. They can be expensive. So, we wanted to offer a place for RVs to stop nationwide. and where they can save money up to $200 every time they come into the location. So in summary, we want customers to be able to look back and not necessarily have to hide from that credit card statement, but actually be able to say, wow, I thought we had spent a lot, but we actually saved a lot as well. And then in terms of that planning and the itinerary, the Trip Wizard's an amazing tool, and also like lets you know what type of cost to expect because it does have the gas prices listed, and a great way for me to see the opportunity of savings too when I'm not just out RVing. I wish I could more, but I'm sitting here at my desk instead.
Sounds like these apps and programs that kind of go hand in hand, but you mentioned costs quite a bit in there, which is what your program's primarily about, is saving costs. That could be a big stressor for folks on these trips. A lot of people think the lifestyle of RVing, carefree, sunsets, it's just, you're just loving life, but then you come home and you have all those bills. But there's other stresses involved. Say there's emergency service and stuff. And it sounds like the Complete Club might kind of help people deal with the stresses of RV travel. How does it do that?
Yeah, so we like to, we'd like to talk about how we're the trusted navigator, right? We want to give people the peace of mind and knowing that, sometimes at Blue Compass, we always talk about this too, is you have that sale and then they kind of say, all right, see you later. Good luck on your travels.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stress to it. I mean, you go through a demo, talk about essentially a home on wheels, and you get a couple hours to learn about everything, right? We wanted to ensure that no matter where you go, we can take care of you. And that's why ultimately, when I talk with, the people at Blue Compass, quite often still is they wanted to build that nationwide network so that if something happens, we can take care of you. You might have bought in South Carolina, but we can help you in Southern California too. It can be stressful. And so we're not going to always be able to fix everything, but we're going to also, always try and push you in the right direction and help you save a little bit of money while doing that. It just alleviates stress knowing that someone's always there on your team and we're not just pushing you off into the wild and saying good luck.
Not just handing you the keys.
Right, right. Worst case scenario, you're on the side of the road. I hate talking about this because we want to promote the industry, but it happens, right? And people need to know what to do when they're in that situation. And so in the app itself, you can go ahead and request services and you can book service appointments right through there.
Nice.
If you need to get a hold of a CoachNet, you can go ahead and call right from the app as well. So the cool thing is the app, when working in, hand in hand with Blue Compass, is it's not just the club in the app. There's also multiple other usability features in there that can ultimately help create a better customer experience and help the RVers take a deep breath while they're out on the road and going through a stressful situation.
Yeah. And that's just, like you said, it's just the reality of any kind of travel. Being full-timers for as long as we have now, I can say for sure, first of all, that CoachNet is fabulous. I mean, we have been using them for well over 12 years. And there's been times that we've had to call them. And so things do happen. And it's just nice knowing that you have these backup contingencies in place to help you out during those really stressful times. Because for the most part, RVing is that sunset on the beach and the beautiful weather in the middle of winter and that kind of thing. But, there are little moments where you need some extra help. So I love that you guys are coming through during those tough times. It really makes you feel appreciated and, valued as a customer. Now, for RVers out there, people who are new, they tend to ask, like, what's the best club I can join? What do you feel, Jared, are the best clubs somebody should join? Like, how do you choose? What do you decide on when it comes to managing the cost of a lifestyle and the membership clubs that support it?
So obviously I'm going to be a little bit biased here.
Sure.
Yeah, I would too. It's a great program.
Yeah. So of course, I'm going to obviously talk about why I think the RV Complete Club is great. And I can kind of talk to that by speaking on some of the differentiators that we ultimately built the club with. And, many clubs out there offer point systems. And, I travel a lot for my job and I know the systems well. You always want to stay at this hotel because you're getting points or flying this airline or whatever it might be. But when we looked back, we kind of noticed that the points never really got us as far as we had hoped. And most times we ended up spending more money just chasing these points. So for full-time RVers, that might be great. But for full-timers and then families who just go on weekend or week-long trips, we wanted them to be able to just save that money without the points involved or the gamification. And at the end of the day, we felt that allowing customers to save money and spend less every single day kind of outweighs the chase, and earning points that they had hoped to use one day. And they have the peace of mind that their money's working for them and taking them further every single day. And then I'd say, the second biggest differentiation is just the Blue Compass partnership, the ability to work with a dealer group that I'm confident is going to do their best to give a VIP treatment to club members specifically. And not many other groups have that partnership with a dealer group that's, going to give that experience and also help them and give them the opportunity to save on parts and service if that's necessary. And then I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier too, but our campground network of over 600 locations nationwide wasn't built on the stance of quantity. It was on quality. And, it's important that you love where you go, and that's where memories will be made. And so we got on the phone and we recruited campgrounds with that exact thing in mind, is to ensure our club members could save money while having incredible experiences. And I think we did a pretty good job of that. We work with some incredible big groups out there. Sun Outdoors is a great one. They're super high quality.
Yeah.
I was at one in Myrtle Beach not long ago. Northgate Properties is a group we worked with. They have Camp Finfo and location. Those are like super, super cool. And then, a lot of other great groups out there that are just, high quality, and I could trust that they were going to be willing to give great experiences. And also, if something happens to their RV, well, they're parked at their campground, they're not just going to ignore them. They're going to help them out. And we talked about first time buyers as well. And if they don't know exactly the whole setup and how to get it, they said, they'd be happy to give the opportunity and the time to make sure they're set up and ready to camp and, not stressed out about whether I set up correctly or something's going to go wrong. And so it's kind of the mindset we went in, is just saying, hey, we want to find campgrounds who are going to take care of our club members, and they're going to be very happy that they went there, and they're going to want to go again and go try another place. And I always talk about my biggest fear: somebody would buy an RV, go out to a campground that I led them to, have a terrible experience, and say, why did I do this?
Yeah.
A huge loan, and this terrible experience happened. I don't know if this is fit for me. So that was a long answer, but
no, that's a great answer. I love that you put so much thought into the research for the campgrounds that are a part of this. That really says a lot about how much you guys care about the customer experience.
And we've talked about like family RVing weekends and traditional RVers and full-time RVs, but it's with so many different types of quote unquote RVers out there. It sounds like the club could really help. If you like boondocking, you're still going to save on fuel. And if you like resorts, you're still going to, save on service. But before we go, can you tell us kind of the best way folks can learn more about the club and how they might think whether or not it's good for them?
Absolutely. I would tell you to go to www.rvcomplete.com and you can find the club located right in there. But if you want a simpler way, just go ahead and download the RV Complete app. It's on the App Store for Apple as well as the Google Play for Android. That's where all your benefits are going to be seen right there. We have the incredible map right on there that is, RV Life helped us with. And the greatest part of that I love about the map is if you're worried about where you're traveling, you can actually link your RV Life Pro subscription right in there.
Nice.
And so if you were worried about my AC unit that I just got put on and I'm going to go through an overpass and I don't want to, you can actually route your trip right through that map on the RV Life Pro database, and it's going to take you with your RV safe directions, knowing that it's not going to put you in a terrible situation.
Wow.
And so, I have to always thank RV Life Pro. They've always worked with us so well on this, and they helped us with that campground search. And so, and many other reasons, but it's a great place just to go right to the app and see everything that you can save all in one place. It just kind of creates that simplicity in finding those campgrounds, finding the gas, finding the Blue Compass locations, and then getting there safely, of course.
Sounds like such a great experience, Jared. Thank you so much for being here and telling us all about it.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Thanks so much.
Sure. Thanks again.
You know, I love this kind of conversation because it gets real. RV life is amazing, but the costs add up fast.
And it's not just about saving a few dollars. It's the peace of mind of knowing where to go, what to do, and having fewer moments on the road.
All right. Next up is another amazing RVE profile with Rose and Glenn.
Oh, yeah. They're talking with RV entrepreneurs Robin and Victor Robledo about something that is never discussed enough. What happens to your sense of identity when you leave that traditional path, especially when your work and your location used to define you?
Right. They share their story about leaving the default life to be nomads, that messy middle part, and the tools that help them rebuild, not just income, but confidence and direction.
Here are Rose and Glenn and the Nomads with a Purpose.
Hello, Victor and Robin. Welcome to the RV Entrepreneur segment of the RV Life podcast. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about mindset, specifically the identity shift that entrepreneurs tend to experience when going from working a traditional job, either one's own business in that working environment, and then going to the full-time RV living and being a nomad. We tend to have this identity loss, and you guys went through it. And will share with us, hopefully, how you overcame that. And that has also become part of your life coaching. But before we get into all that, briefly share a little bit about yourselves and what you do.
I chase adventure. That's about it. I want to be the fun mom. I was 20 when we opened our first business as a brick and mortar in Coronado, California, a very affluent area. We opened a gymnastics studio and it was really successful. We got married that next year and had kids right away. We have 5 children. And when we opened it, it was great because we wanted to be together all the time. And I only highlight that because if anybody lives in an RV, they know that at first, like, wow, I get to see my spouse all the time. And then you get to a point where you're like, you need to leave. You need to go do something. All I do is see you. That is part of that identity, though. Like, I am Victor's wife. And then through all of our travels, I realized I am Robin Sander, my maiden name at my core, and I have to figure out this identity of Robin Robledo. So we opened our business. We ran it. It's a great business, very successful in a really affluent city until Victor had a massive adrenal burnout in 2009 that kind of redefined our first level of identity of relationship. Before that, we did everything together. We were like Velcro. And then through that healing process, he started doing jujitsu. I ended up pregnant with my 5th child. We kind of went in parallel paths that I was not okay with. I straight up pretty much freaked out. I was crying all the time. Who am I? You're leaving me. I'm stuck as a mom at home. And as I got my head above water, I picked up a surfboard and I just started surfing. And then I was like, oh, wow, there's an I. Like that was a big identity shift for me. That I love being outdoors. I had no idea. I had showed him, hey, look at these houses on the beach. We can afford this for rent. And so we moved to the beach for 2 years. And it was really almost perfect, except that I was still like in that identity of, I never see you. I miss you. I want to see you more. And he was busy working. The landlord wanted her house back. And I said, you know what? We could save so much money. This was 2015. There wasn't this huge RV life influence at the time. I knew nobody who lived in an RV. You know, we could save so much money if we just lived in our RV for 5 months. No big deal. We'll rent a house in September. It would be like just a really good opportunity to just pull Victor away from from our brick and mortar. The goal was to pull him away for like a 10-day trip and then a 3-week trip and then a 6-week trip. And in between, we would be in an RV in San Diego. That's cueing Victor because that's what started his identity shift.
Looking back, because Victor, this is, based on what Robin just said, this is, toward you, how much of your identity was tied to your business and even your location? And I say that selfishly because I was the same.
100%. maybe 98. Mm-hmm. 98% it was like, I wake up, I go to this place. I am the man. Right. I walk in this town that I've developed. I couldn't walk more than a block without someone recognizing me. I could create. My business was self-perpetuating. Because of that, I made a connection. Hey, how are you? Hey, when are you going to come in for a workout? I'm waiting for you. And then that would naturally build itself out in a digital realm, which we'll probably touch on. You know, I'm still a child of the 80s. Like I know how to make human connection. That was my gift. But digitally, that was something that really, really was a curveball that I was not prepared for. So a lot of my identity was wrapped up into it. And a lot more was wrapped up into that I must grind mentality. I come from a long lineage of grinders. Well, of course, you're supposed to get to the end of the day and feel just like satisfied, like, I did it. I'm exhausted.
You know what? That other 2% is you are a walking billboard.
Oh, man, that's the other thing.
Right.
And the other thing in fitness, always being that, it's once in a while, you're like, I want a donut.
Go hide in a closet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So for our listeners, you owned that tumbling business before you left for RV life. And then you ended up selling, right?
We had two businesses side by side, a gymnastics one and a personal training one in Coronado. Mm-hmm. So when we started traveling, it was just more like, hey, let's take these road trips. And Victor, I'm working on finishing up my book. He just says, sure. I'm like, do you want to talk about it? Anything more? No? Sure. Okay. So we kind of jumped into that. And after that last trip, we're coming back across the border into California again. And he's like, I can't ask you to rent a house. Like, you're too happy. Let's just stay in the RV, keep the brick and mortar going. And we pretty much lived in our RV and then just took bigger road trips for that first until 2016 in May. We still kept the brick and mortar going, hired an employee, went to Costa Rica for a month, Europe for 6 months, which that was another whole identity breakdown. And then tried one more year of like back and forth trying to keep the business afloat while I was trying to be like, if we just learned marketing, if we became influencers, we could be the bucket list family. And in May of 2017, we closed the door and in my head, we were going to make it. We were going to be the influencers. And it just never happened.
It's a lot harder than people think.
It really is. And once you close those doors on that brick and mortar business and you're like free for a little while, it's like, yay, okay, we can do all this and this is wonderful. And then you're like, maybe we should try and create more of an income again. Okay. So what do we do? Do we do the same thing? There's this identity that's tied to what you were doing. It's all about you. And then, so what did you guys do after that?
Well, the hard thing in that process, Victor never sat down with me and said, you know what? I want this RV life thing. I want this. Let's think of ways that I could make money. It was always like, hey, you should do this. Hey, try this. Like I'm the spitballing idea. And Victor's just kind of like sitting there. Okay, well.
I always appreciate, even this moment, Robin's mind is like, you can see it. It shows us the North Star that we're pointing to. But in my mind, I must protect my family. I must keep cash flow coming in. I need to provide them. And it also, because of my backstory, as soon as that brick and mortar closed, my nervous system was like on high alert. So I didn't have the creative potential.
In 2018, we basically came to a compromise after 2017 and we're like, hey, I understand you need a place in person, but I just refuse it to be San Diego. I was so done with San Diego. And I said, let's just try somewhere else. He's like, roll the dice. Okay, Bend, Oregon.
Working in a place, starting, you were in fitness. You know what it's like. Building rapport with people takes a little time. Being accepted and embraced by a community, that takes time. And so when I arrived here, I would walk into a facility like, hey, you're looking for a trainer? And you just expect them to know like you're the man. And like, that's not the case. Okay, well, you can start working here, but at the same time, I'm watching our bank account go 500, 400, 300, 200, goose egg, right? And you're going, I have to pivot. What I know now is you must step into those greater visions and know that they're going to happen as opposed to playing a little bit small. Because if I did this all over again, I would have stopped playing small. I mean, I ended up running out of money and having to work as a mover. in town and going like, I got to feed my family. I got to take care of them, instead of coming into it with something bigger. Instead, that just ends up really cutting the legs out from your creative potential and that expansion that you have to have. I know now that the mindset needs to be broad, vast, and empowered towards that creative potential. And if it's not there, you end up tripping and falling and backstep. Before you know it, you're moving furniture, schlepping furniture, and traveling like somewhat all over the country just to break even.
But there was a huge self-worth problem at that point, right?
Yeah. You know, one of the words that I use always is humility. I was ingrained with it. It's part of me. When you walk in quite humbly into a place, they don't know what your worth necessarily is. So yes, I realize now that that's a crutch of self-worth. Martial arts has taught me there's always a bigger fish. Like in the jiu-jitsu game, like you always have to step on with some humility. Yes, I get that. But I made that mistake in life oftentimes. Through this process, I learned that all the words you choose to live by, well, they can also be a bit of a crutch. And I really do think that for me, that was hiding behind that a self-worth issue that I naturally had.
And so we ended up with a miracle that we wrecked our RV. Somebody rear-ended us and it totaled the back, but it was still drivable. So we ended up with like a big chunk of money to like get our head above water again. And so then we had a pivot, and then Victor still couldn't find clients. So he started working at Lowe's. And at the time I was still like, I miss you. I want to see you. I'll go work at Lowe's with you. And I walked into Lowe's with that red jacket, and he looked at me and he's like, I'm leaving next weekend. I'm going back to San Diego. I know how to make money there. End of story. And then 2020 just crushed it all. In some ways in a good way, because.
Well, 2020 allowed me to really go, it was way more acceptable to do what I was doing digitally. Whereas before, in my mind, I'm like, no, I have to work with people. I have to be in person to read angles and lines and technique. And eventually that opened up the possibility. And that possibility then flourished into something that I could do beyond just counting reps or reading the body. And so sometimes the universe conspires like, oh, you need a push. And I do believe that everything that's happened to us has happened really for a reason, to really show that you have to be prepared, and the universe prepares you for some of this thing. That's a deeper idea. I understand that, but I do think having all the challenges that we faced, I would do it all over again.
So you, Victor, had to pivot. You were kind of forced to pivot to online, which now was a blessing, and you're doing that currently. And your identity was kind of forced to morph into something better. But were there things along the way in the middle, gets messy? Any advice for those who are going through that? What did you do? Any tools, anything that helped you? Yeah.
Looking back, if I had the tools that I had now, I would have been able to overcome that, really overcome and push through faster. I started meditating. I started doing breath work. I realized that my nervous system was just hijacked because of my backstory. I come from a place where money was scarce. And so when I saw that money disappearing, it put me into a fight or flight state. I knew it. I felt it. I just didn't have the skill in the moment to calm down on a deep level. And so meditation and breath work, yoga practice, all of these things that I had developed, and I certainly had my strength training and my conditioning, all those things, but those weren't really kind of giving me the ability. I had to be able to hover outside okay, is this a person I want to be? And so each person, even now that I work with, even Qigong as well, the people that I work with, it's about giving them the best shot. And everyone is drawn to certain skills more. I'm like, hey, let's try meditation. Let's try this. Let's try. And when you feel that click, like, ooh, something is happening. I can feel this undercurrent of emotion. And so all of the things that were pushing me, what were the sticky middle parts? I was an angry SOB a lot of times, and I didn't even know why. And it was because I was running on adrenaline and fuel. Like, how am I going to provide? How am I going to provide? Why is this so hard? And instead of shifting from a place of empowerment, right? I was playing a victim. Like, this is happening to me. But I was happy to play the martyr. Like, I will self-sacrifice for you guys to have this wonderful experience that I did not have. But it was increasingly becoming more challenging as time went on. And so all of those challenges pushed me to start like, okay, what tool can I add? What habit can I start? Obviously, we know to drink plenty of water, eat great food, like really do all these things, but I needed to up that level. And then over time, I started to have a better idea of what it was that I needed to stay in that calm state and have an impact on really what I was drawing to me and drawing to us.
Excellent. Really good advice.
You're resonating with me so much right now, Victor.
Yes.
That just pulled me in.
The little tidbit is Victor wasn't raised with parents who said, what do you want? What would make you happy? And so to have identity, we have to be able to identify that. What is happiness? What is like, I keep this thing by my computer where happiness is my birthright, but we're not raised to think that we're allowed to be happy. But that was like a big part of our struggle is that grinder mentality. You're not important unless you're suffering. And that was a big thing for us to overcome, that it's okay. Like, we can be happy.
Going back to one of the challenges, I went from living with my family and we moved out together, right? So I had zero transition at actually finding. And to me, in my mind, looking back, I said, whatever she wants, I'm going to make sure is happy. That's the most important thing in my life. And that is still the most important thing in my life, is to protect my family. However, I have to make sure I'm balancing that and tempering it with what my personal needs and development are, instead of just sacrificing and exhausting oneself without that natural self-care or natural feeding of the self. All too often, I think, I see it a lot when I work with men. They get into that similar state where they're self-sacrificing for their family, and then they never really had a chance to discover what actually makes them tick and fills their energetic self, as opposed to withdrawals. And that's how I basically put it with guys. I'm like, hey, you have too many withdrawals from your bank account and not enough deposit. What is a deposit? And they go, I have no idea. Watching football on Sundays? I'm like, okay, well, how do you feel after doing that? Still kind of tired. Then it's not a deposit. We have to find out what that is.
And that's like where we did agree, is that we reframed our life, our identity around prioritizing recreation, recreating ourselves. What it looked like for me versus Victor was different at first. We eventually realized, hey, mountain biking, we can meet at mountain biking, that we're about the same level there. Some of these other sports weren't it was maybe recreating me, not him. Jiu-jitsu recreates him. I don't do jiu-jitsu. So, but finding that balance, it really, that's the whole reason to move into an RV, to me. Not other people are different, but to prioritize recreation, recreating yourself. If it wasn't for the recreation, I would never. Living in an RV is hard. You have to flex muscles you really don't want to flex. You have the luxury tax of sewer, and like, it's not fun. It's only fun if you recreate yourself.
Luxury tax. To back up a little bit, it is called a recreational vehicle for a reason.
Yeah.
So it seems like losing yourselves actually became the path to finding yourselves again.
Exactly.
Right. And that identity that you had that was tied to that business, brick and mortar. Now you guys have gone through that process. Closing here, do you have any advice for like someone who is afraid of losing their identity, going from that, by leaving that traditional stuff? What would you tell them from your own experience?
Yeah, it's really simple. This is extrinsic versus intrinsic. That identity where I walk through the street, and because I too walked through the street, and everybody, I'm the one who started the business. They're like, Miss Robin. I understood that that's what surfing did. It moved me from that extrinsic value system of what does this person think of me? How popular am I? To what do I think of myself when I'm drowning in the ocean? It's self-perpetuating, because the recreation is re-identifying who you think or what you think of yourself, your core values. And it's just a shift from extrinsic to intrinsic values.
That's a really cool way of putting it. And so you guys are online personal training, life coaching, all that now. So where can our listeners find you if they want to learn more or maybe inquire about some of your coaching?
We're Nomads with a Purpose. So nomadswithapurpose.com. You can find our things there. You can shoot us an email, Victor at Nomads with a Purpose, Robin at Nomads with a Purpose. And we have a myriad of things, life coaching to just finding your identity through understanding more about the self. Victor does a lot of breath work and meditation in helping people to self-regulate. Obviously, he still does fitness training. It's just there's a lot of other ways of helping.
We want to thank you so much, Victor and Robin, for coming on today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Wow, that one really hits home because even if you're not an entrepreneur, that identity shift is something a lot of RVers experience.
Oh, yeah. Whether it's leaving a career, becoming a full-timer, or just redefining what success looks like to you, there was a lot in there to think about.
All right, let's close out this episode with something safety-focused. It's important, and it's one of those topics that's worth hearing before you ever need it.
Bob is talking with Martin Neeson, founder of Gas Stop, about propane safety, how their shutoff system works, and why it matters to stop a catastrophic leak at the source, not after it becomes an emergency.
Here's Bob and Martin.
Okay, my guest today is Martin Neeson, the founder of Gas Stop, which is the safest propane security system in our industry and in the world. Martin, take us back to when you founded the product and why it was such an important invention for you.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Bob. Gas Stop is a 100% shut-off safety valve in case of a sudden or catastrophic propane leak. And the good thing about Gas Stop is also you can test for minor leaks, and that's even as important to actually, before you go traveling, you are able to do a minor leak test and see if everything is still fine. We discovered in the RV industry in America, you have access flow valves, but not shutting off 100%, and that can be dangerous if gas keeps flowing while you are at sleep or are not noticing that there is a problem.
It's truly amazing device. Now you entered the United States around 2019, so you're 5 or 6 years into your adventures here in the United States, and the product is getting a lot of attention. Both, what's interesting about this product, the manufacturers can put it on their units at the shop if that's when they're making the units. Dealers have it. They can do it on Amazon. Talk about how it works. Let's assume a lot of our listeners today never heard of Gas Stop. So give us the 30,000 overview in simplistic terms why this product is important. And, as you and I go back now since, 2019, so we've done a lot of interviews. But I've always said this product should be on every RV in the United States. I'll let you worry about Europe. But this product truly is one of those products that should be on every RV.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. The thing is that for America we have two different devices. We have a gas stop for a tank, and we have a gas stop for a propane a cylinder. And gas stop is 100% shut off in case of a sudden or catastrophic leak. And it actually works on flow rate and not on pressure. So we are not relying on springs or any other small details that can get sticky, or it's an old-fashioned way of how an airplane flies in the air. So there's a little ball bearing hovering on the flow rate. And as soon as we get too much flow rate, then the gas flow will pick up the ball and shut off the whole system. Gas stop is installed directly on the source, so directly on the cylinder, and after that you have a regulator or a hose. It depends on the installation. And as soon as you have this leak, this gas leak, this catastrophic gas leak, it will shut off 100%. There is a little gauge on the system, so you can actually visually see if it has tripped or what the condition of your propane system is. And the other thing, the good thing of gas stop is you can imagine if you travel a lot with your RV and you have just traveled for like 300 miles, 500 miles, you go over like bumpy roads and you can easily create a minor leak. And that could be leading to something dangerous. So when you come to your new destination, you do a check for, it's about 10 minutes, and you open the cylinder. You need to prime the gates to open the gas stop. Then you close the gas tank again. What you're doing is trapping the gas in the system. And if you look at the needle at the gauge and the needle drops, you know you have a small leak somewhere and you can do something about it. So and people love it. RVers love it because it's a great peace of mind, and you can detect a minor leak as well before you have any like big issues going on.
Yeah, the thing that's amazing to me is you're at the source, so it's on the tank on the exterior, or it's in the cylinder in there. So, and it doesn't require any electricity. Doesn't require any batteries. It's based on the design of the system itself. Now, some people might think that having a carbon monoxide detector in the RV might be their safety valve, but that's not really true, is it? Because that in those cases, if that alarm goes off, then it's been leaking for a while. So explain that technology so people understand. Yeah, it's important to have the carbon monoxide, but you want to be at the source.
Yeah, it's an absolutely very good point. So in the United States, you have 3 different devices. So you all have a propane or butane detector, carbon monoxide detector, or a combination of both. So the modern RVs have a combination of both. But the thing is, it's a detail, but it's a very important detail. If you want to put a propane detector into your RV, you want to install it as low as possible, because propane is heavier than air and it will drop to the bottom. So the first thing you want to know when propane is leaking, the alarm goes off in the bottom of your vehicle. But for a carbon monoxide detector, you want to have it installed in like at the ceiling, like as high as possible, because those gases go up to the ceiling, right? It's lighter than air.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the combination of both is a kind of tricky thing. And another point that I want to point out is I don't want to scare people, but propane, gas, and electricity is not really the best combination. And detectors like this, it's absolutely must have in my eyes. You need to have it's a standard in America. It's not a law, but those are standards. You need one device, one detector. But it's like when you put propane and electricity in one compartment, that's in my eyes as a safety guy, is not the best thing to do. So this is also a reason, and it's a very good point you made. With gas stop, you don't need batteries. It's a 24/7 safety on your vehicle with a 5-year warranty. Always functions because it's mechanical, and the detectors there can be a lot of issues going on with like faulty devices, like the battery not working, the wiring is not good. There are a lot of things that could go wrong. Your fuse can be burned out, and electricity is also like heating up. So in heat and gases are not the best combination. So there are a lot of things you constantly need to check and go out. I advise you to do a monthly checkup with your detector. There's a little knot, like a button on it. You can check for it, and please do so, because if you have an accident, you will never forget, and you don't want that, right?
Right. Our guest this morning is Martin Neeson, the founder of Gas Stop, and probably the best propane safety system in the RV industry and in propane in general. Martin, before we let you go, we're running short on time. How do people find Gas Stop, and where can they buy it?
So we sell on Amazon and with large retailers as General RV. Every store has a gas stop available, and they provide you all the information when you buy a new RV, and they will make sure that they explain gas stop to you like totally, completely.
Yeah, I think one of the nice things that they do is they have kind of like a top 10 products, and within that top 10 is gas stop, and all of their salespeople have to take new customers and even existing customers and walk them through the 10 items. These are the 10 items that they feel are most valuable if you're going to be buying an RV and if you want to protect your investment. Martin, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to catch up to you, and hope your weather gets better over there in the Netherlands. And I'll keep soaking up the Florida sunshine.
Great talking to you, and thank you again, and always good to talk to you about.
Thanks, Martin.
Great information there, and a good reminder that safety systems are not any place to cut corners.
Oh, yeah. So that's a wrap for RV Life podcast number 154. Set your trip wizard to Savannah for St. Patrick's Day. Get smart savings and support with RV Complete Club. And consider that mindset conversation with Robin and Victor.
And don't forget that important propane safety discussion with Gas Stop. Share this episode with friends, and make sure you're following the RV Life podcast so you never miss the next one. Find complete show notes and resources on the episode page at podcast.rvlife.com.
And as always, get more RV trip planning tools, campground reviews, and travel help with RV Life.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, remember,
it is called a recreational vehicle for a reason.
Yeah.
Ever wished you could learn more about RVing from the experts? With RV Life Masterclass, you can. Gain access to a wealth of knowledge through online courses and a resource library filled with insightful guides. Whether you're a novice RVer or a seasoned traveler, there's always something new to learn. Start expanding your RV knowledge today by visiting rvlife.com.